How do you know when you have taken on energy that does not belong to you? First, I just want to say it takes some practice and really knowing what your energy feels like, what is normal for you. Um, and we can go sometimes many years running energy through our emotional system, through our emotions that is not ours or is not originating from us. And so it can cause this familiarity with something unnatural that's unlike you that you have identified with. And so there's kind of a learning process with this. It's not automatic. This video is really for you if sometimes you have just not felt like uh, either you have your emotions are overwhelming or you feel just this low grade unease in your body and in your energy field, because that's kind of where it's registering. And that too takes a while for you to hone your psychic apparatus to begin to understand, like, where do I end and where do you begin? And this is a really important concept that I work with clients on constantly. Um, and you can be in a process of growth with this, where you have learned that some energy is toxic for you and that it is in certain situations and around certain groups and certain relationships. And so you're starting to have boundaries with that particular place, but there's still a lot of bleed through. You're kind of confused. Did I cause this? Did they cause this? Am I reacting to it, to something that they're provoking? So there can be a lot of that when you don't know your own energy and how you really feel. Now, I wish when I was a kid that they taught us from day one, well, a few things. First, that you are a gift, that you are, not a burden, that you are a gift. We're glad you're here. And secondly, um, given times to just taught that there is a space that belongs to you and it's not a dumping ground for random people. And unfortunately, this isn't really taught because there's often dynamics in families where the parents dump and the kids are reacting. And then the parent is like, I have this crazy kid. I don't understand. Why is my kid so crazy? What's wrong with my kid? And it's really just that the kid isn't given any space to fully inhabit their own being and have their own energy and have their own, it's more that they're in a tug of war with other people around them to be what they want, or used as a chew toy, as so to speak. So a lot of us, that's why I'm saying a lot of us have to have a period, a long period, sometimes years, of just gently learning what's mine, what's yours, and how to detangle oneself from energies that don't belong to you. So if you've had a habit where you're just like, I just go somewhere and it's just all on me, and I just feel terrible after being at the mall or at the library or being at school or being in a class or being at a meeting at work. And I don't know why, but I just feel this big and I feel just, full of negative emotion. That's a signal that maybe it's time to learn some boundary keeping with the where do I end, where do you begin conversation. And it can be taught energetically. Um, Much better, I think, than therapeutically through, I mean, that can be helpful too if you've never been listened to talk to somebody and have them hear, this is how I feel in these dynamics. I don't feel good. But ultimately, it's about your energy field and your energy system and how you process energy that doesn't belong to you, that didn't originate from you. The other day, for the first time in my life, I've been putting gas in my car for many, many years. And I drove up accidentally in front of the diesel and I was like, oh, like I put my credit card in. I just hadn't even realized I had to go. And so I like to say that taking on energy and trying to process it and live from it and operate from it that doesn't belong to you is very similar to putting diesel fuel in an unleaded gas tank. I mean, it's going to destroy an engine. And so the same destructive principle happens when we walk through the world and accept, being this garbage receptacle. So the first step is just the recognition. How do I feel when I've cleaned myself out and not been around anybody and finally feel pretty good about something? And then if I go and be around somebody, how does that feel? Do I feel expanded? Do I feel more like myself or less like myself? Some people feel so less like themselves that after being with around the wrong energy, they feel completely checked out and dissociated. And maybe this is you. I've had those times in my life where I was really dissociated. And it was a process, a very particular process of learning how to get back in my body, in my space, owning it all and reveling in what I get to have and be and knowing what are my feelings and what is my energy versus what have I taken on. Now, I just want to teach you the most simple tool if this is very new to you or you're in a process of trying to figure it out and you have, this sort of massive emotional stuff that happens to you sometimes. And it really derails you from being able to know what you want, love your life, and love yourself. Um, and that is if you can find in yourself a moment, and it may have been when you were 1 or 9, or some moment where you felt like a gift, where you felt excited to be alive and excited to do this thing and excited about your possibilities. Let's just say if you took a snapshot of that energy, that is you. That's the real you. And then all the other junk that gets layered on top or stuffed into you from the outside, or however you've pulled it in, or however it's happened, where you've taken on foreign energy, energy that really has nothing to do with you and that you can't process. Your body can't process it. It's like those food additives that we like literally aren't food that we're trying to eat and are making us sick because they are not meant to be digested. They're not yours. So it's first understanding like if you feel sick or bad, when you're trying to deal with toxic situations, you're not wrong for that. You are trying to survive, and your stomach wants to digest something better than junk. And your spirit and your life wants to digest, and your energy wants to digest. You, as an energy being, want an experience that is not like taking in the junk food, taking in garbage. Um, Depending on how you grew up and how you've lived your life, you may be a bit of a healer. You may feel like I didn't get what I needed, so I'm going to try to heal these people up so I could maybe have a little something. So that's a pattern too to look at. So you want to look at that snapshot of a moment in your life when you felt free, expansive, beautiful, like a gift, excited about your possibilities. And then you want to look at um, what doesn't feel like that. That would be not your energy. Now, that's a big statement, possibly for you hearing this, because you may be like, well, why then 95% of the time do I feel like crap? Well, you feel like crap because of the pattern and, just what you were trained into. And that you can be untrained out of it. That's the good part. That's the good part about all of this. But what I want you most to find out of this is some reflection. Oh, yeah, that sounds like me. Oh my God. Yeah, you got me. I've been through this. Then you can look for that snapshot of joy that you have always known is there. And sometimes it is pretty buried, and you've got all this mental junk that's saying, oh, I know I'm terrible, I'm not that. But you want to just move the mental junk aside and you want to find that snapshot. And it may be somewhat in this region of the self, kind of, it's not in the head usually, it's down deeper because this is where the soul connects in and gives you your marching orders and your instructions through the heart. And this is where you are a blessing and a benefit and nothing was ever wrong with you. Okay. So, um, there's more to say about this, but I am going to be creating a new class this fall. It is for um, releasing energetic stress. And it's really about creating the building blocks to listen to your intuition accurately, get good guidance, and live a life you love. So if you're interested in that, wherever this is, you can write me an email to support@tamrachilds.com. You can message me if this is on Facebook or one of the other platforms and just let me know that you're interested, and I can put you on a wait list for that. And also just dialogue with me, write some questions or let me know how this has landed for you because um, as the world continues to be very, very stressful, and there's so much of seeing people drowning in darkness or negativity. You may be feeling like you need a little support here in how to have a really fortified energy field and have some psychic protection to help yourself know when you're starting to go down the rabbit hole of despair or of doubt and fear and also just drowning energetically in negativity that has nothing to do with you. And I can teach you some ways to protect yourself, some ways to let go of energetic stress before it starts to really monkey with your system and your life. So this has been my pleasure to do this, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Just reach out to me and let me know what you need. And thanks for watching.